why motivation fails, and what quietly replaces it. Welcome to Seeds of Thought. Glad you stopped by. Today I want to start with something uncomfortable, but freeing. If motivation worked, you wouldn't still be struggling with the same goals year after year. You wouldn't need another speech, another video, another surge of excitement that fades by Tuesday. Yet here we are. Not because you're broken, not because you lack discipline, not because you don't want it badly enough, but because motivation was never designed to carry you. Motivation is a spark, and sparks are unreliable. They flare up when conditions are perfect and disappear the moment life pushes back, and life always pushes back. Here is a lie we were taught about change. Somewhere along the way, we were taught this idea: if you really want it, you'll feel motivated. So we wait. We wait to feel ready. We wait to feel confident. We wait to feel inspired. And while we're waiting, our life keeps moving without our permission. Bills still come. Time still passes. Patterns still repeat. And slowly, quietly, we start to associate inaction with who we are. I guess I'm just not consistent. I guess I don't have discipline. I guess this is just how I am. But that conclusion is wrong. You're not failing because you lack motivation. You're failing because you're relying on something that cannot be relied on. So let me explain what motivation actually is. Motivation is emotional energy, and emotional energy is reactive, not stable. It spikes when you hear the right words, you imagine a better future, you feel pain, fear, or excitement. But emotion is temporary. That means any system that depends on emotion will eventually collapse. That's not a mindset issue, that's physics. You don't build a bridge out of fireworks, yet most people try to build a life out of motivation. So, the hidden danger with motivation is the good feeling it gives us. Motivation gives you a false sense of progress. You feel powerful before anything changes. You visualize the outcome. You imagine the new version of yourself. You feel momentum without movement, and your brain rewards that feeling. So you mistake emotion for execution. Then the emotion fades, and now you're left facing effort without the chemical high. That's where most people stop. Not because the goal is wrong, but because the engine shut off. So here's the moment most people quit and never notice it. There's a specific moment where change usually dies. It's not at the beginning. It's after the excitement wears off, but before results appear. You're doing the work, but nothing feels different yet. No feedback, no visible payoff, no emotional reward. This is the most dangerous phase of growth, because it feels like effort without evidence, and motivation cannot survive there. So, here's what quietly replaces motivation. Here's the shift that changes everything. High performers don't rely on motivation. They rely on structure. They don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" They ask, "What happens next?" They remove the decision. They remove the debate. They remove the need to feel anything at all. And that's the secret most people never hear. Consistency is not an emotional trait. It's a mechanical one. Here's the real driver of behavior. You don't do what you're motivated to do. You do what's easy to repeat. You do what's expected of you. You do what your environment quietly nudges you toward. Your behavior is not a reflection of desire. It's a reflection of design. If your current setup rewards distraction, you will be distracted. If it rewards avoidance, you will avoid. If it rewards comfort, you will stay comfortable. Not because you're weak, but because systems win every time. And here is why. Willpower loses, even for strong people. Willpower is a finite resource. It drains with stress, decision-making, fatigue, emotional overload. That's why even disciplined people break down under pressure. They don't lose character. They lose capacity, which means relying on willpower is not strength, it's gambling. And eventually, the house wins. So it's important to understand the shift, where you go from feeling-based action to identity-based action. Here's where things get interesting. The most powerful replacement for motivation is identity. Not what you want, not what you hope, but who you believe you are. You don't brush your teeth because you're motivated. You do it because it's part of who you are. You don't debate it. You don't hype yourself up. You don't wait for the right mood. You act in alignment with identity. This is where change becomes quiet and permanent. Let me explain why identity is stronger than goals. Goals aim at outcomes. Identity governs behavior. Goals say, I want to get fit. Identity says, I'm someone who takes care of my body. Goals are future-focused. Identity is present tense, and the brain always prioritizes the present. That's why identity wins. Even small actions can rewrite self-image. Every action you repeat is a vote, not for your goal, but for your identity. You're not trying to run a mile. You're trying to become someone who doesn't quit. You're not trying to write a book. You're trying to become someone who shows up. And the size of the action doesn't matter nearly as much as its consistency. Small actions are powerful because they are believable. Your brain accepts them, and what your brain accepts, it repeats. But here's the dangerous myth of big change. Big change feels impressive, but it's fragile. Small change feels insignificant, but it compounds. Most people don't fail because they aim too low. They fail because they aim too dramatically. They demand a version of themselves they don't trust yet. So the system collapses under its own ambition. Here's the real question you should be asking. What happens when I don't think? Because that's who's running your life. Your defaults. When you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're distracted. You don't rise to intention. You fall to default. And if you don't choose your defaults, they will be chosen for you. By habit, by environment, by convenience. You need to learn how to build a system that works when you don't feel like it. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer decisions. You need actions that are obvious, easy to start, hard to avoid. You need to lower the barrier to action so low that resistance can't argue. 5 minutes, 1 page, 1 rep, 1 sentence. Not to achieve results, but to reinforce identity. This may feel too simple, but sometimes simple is what works the best. Your mind wants drama. It wants transformation stories. But real change is boring at first. It's quiet, uncelebrated, unimpressive, until one day, it isn't. And by then, it's too late to stop. And here's the moment you stop needing motivation. At first, it's subtle. You don't feel excited anymore. You feel anchored. You don't feel hyped. You feel stable. You act not because you're inspired, but because this is who you are now. And that's when motivation becomes irrelevant. Here's the final truth. Motivation is loud, but it's unreliable. Systems are quiet, but they are unstoppable. If you've been blaming yourself for not staying motivated, stop. The problem was never you. It was the strategy. Build what carries you when emotion disappears, because emotion always disappears, and what replaces it determines everything.